Hello, I'm Amara Jones, and today is Tuesday, April 28th. This is Caffeine TV, your daily news brief, here to take you the three headline numbers in just 3 minutes, giving you a different take on everything from housing policy to the Real Housewives. The first number of today is 5,000. That's the number of public safety officials that Maryland Governor Larry Hogan has asked to be pulled from cities across his state in order to converge on Baltimore, adding to the thousands of National Guard that he's called up and a full deployment of the Baltimore Police Department, taking de facto control of the city's public safety away from local officials after a series of missteps which contributed to the fact that last night Baltimore was ablaze. Now, the first misstep occurred on Saturday when Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake identified the first incidents of violence as having been committed by, quote, outsiders, close quote, as we spoke about yesterday, a move which perhaps underestimated the degree to which her city was on edge. But perhaps the most egregious misstep occurred yesterday when, in response to the fact that dozens of youths were headed to a local mall, Baltimore police ordered all school buses within the vicinity of that mall, the Mondrian Mall, emptied, adding to the seeds of chaos in which the violence took place. Now, though the pictures coming out of Baltimore are shocking, one of the questions is whether or not they are surprised. As a matter of fact, HBO's The Wire detailed the political, economic, educational, public safety, and journalistic deterioration of Baltimore, and like the natural tensions which built up underneath Nepal and were released this week, were eventually going to burst forth. The next number of today is 16. That's the number of people from 4 different states today who are asking that the Supreme Court grant them the constitutional right to marry. Now, you remember that back in 2013, the Supreme Court took on 2 landmark gay marriage cases, but the result of those cases is that the Supreme Court ruled that the federal government has to recognize gay marriage from the states in which they are legal, but that left a huge legal loophole on which today's case is built. Now, essentially, the petitioners married in states in which marriage is legal, but when they either returned to their home state or moved to a state in which it was illegal, faced a number of substantial and painful barriers. The individual details of their stories is laid out on our Facebook page. But regardless of how the Supreme Court rules 2 months from now, LGBT Americans have a long way to go before the battle is fully won. That's because there's a backlash against marriage under the banner of religious freedom, as we've discussed here before. And regardless, in a majority of states, it's still legal to discriminate against someone for being lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. And so it's not all rainbows and unicorns yet. The last number of today is 23. That's the age of Rachel Bryk, a trans woman and gifted gaming programmer who leapt to her death off of the George Washington Bridge just hours before the Diane Sawyer of Bruce Jenner aired in an apparent suicide. Now, Bryk created a way in which games created for gaming platforms like Nintendo's PlayStation could be played on desktops, but the mechanism that she used to create also was turned against her. She was constantly harassed for being trans, and when she began to express suicidal thoughts on the internet, trolls encouraged her to commit suicide. One of them, according to the Washington Post, said, quote, "just fucking do it," close quote. Now, despite that this moment has been labeled a, quote, transgender tipping point, close quote, Bryk's death reflects the reality that many transgender Americans face. As a matter of fact, trans men and women are 10 times more likely to try to commit suicide than members of the general population. And so we have a lot more work to do to make sure that there are no more Rachel Bryks.